To set up the default settings for quotes and jobs in PrintQuote Pro, choose PrintQuote Pro Setup from under the File menu. On the Settings tab, you can set a number of default settings for PrintQuote Pro. In the section Stock, you can enter the default markup for your stock. This is a percentage that will be applied by default to all your stock items, whenever you create a quote or job. This markup value can be modified in a particular quote or job. Can be modified here. When you enter a stock item, you have the option of two rates, an end rate and a second rate, and you can use these two rates depending on whether you purchase stock at a bulk rate or as a cut rate or both. Click on the Use End Rate checkbox if you wish to use the end rate as the default cost for your stock costings, otherwise the second rate will be used. This choice can be modified in a particular quote or job on the Guillotining tab. If you select Include Overs in Stock Calculations, the cost of overs will be added to the cost of the job, and this also can be deselected in the quote or job. The minimum press run, you can choose whether you want the minimum press run that has been set in the press preferences to be used whenever you're costing a job or quote as a default. The number of sheets in a minimum run is set in the press preferences. And to modify this, we select Offset Press under the PrintQuote Pro menu, and when a quote or job is costed, then this quantity will be seen as the minimum quantity put through the press. The option to use the minimum press run can also be turned off on the Printing tab of a quote or job. The decollating rate is the cost of decollating a book. This usually applies to a spiral binding process of a book quote when the book has already been collated and has to be decollated to add section tabs. And this can also be modified in a quote or job on the Finishing To tab. In the packaging section, we can put the defaults for our packaging rates. If you are wrapping letterheads in reams or putting them into cartons, the packaging rate is the cost of wrapping each ream, and the carton rate is the cost of each carton. In a quote or job, you can enter the number of pieces in a pack and the number of packs that fit into a carton, and the total packaging cost will be the cost of the cartons plus the cost of wrapping the packages in the cartons. Here we have 500 business cards in a small pack, and 6 of these packs in a carton. And if the package count is less than 6, then we won't use a carton. The list packaging details, if selected, will list the packaging details for each quantity in the quote text of the quote text tab of the quote. If this is not selected, the packaging details will not be included in the quote text. On the job, there's the facility to add additional information to the job sheet of a job. By clicking on the job, you can enter information that will be printed on the job sheet, and you're able to give the button a title of your own description depending on how you want to use this information. The Set Other Details button title gives you the facility to give a title to a details button on the Job Details tab of a job. The title will appear as the name of the button and the name of the heading that will appear on the job sheets. In this case, the button is called Invoicing Details, and the information typed in this dialog will appear in a job sheet under the heading Invoicing Details, letting the office staff know how a job is to be invoiced. And the information typed in here will appear on the job sheet. And the title is set in PrintQuote Pro setup. The guillotining section is where you set the guillotining rates. Firstly, we input the guillotining rate per lift. Here it is 75 cents, in other words 75 cents per lift. And this is the facility to have 3 cut-off weights, quantities and factors for guillotining. You can enter the cut-off weight rates for each weight of stock that has a rate change. Then enter the guillotining quantity sheets for each lift for each weight cut-off value. And finally, enter the factor of the initial lift cost by which each guillotining rate increases. In this example, up to a weight of 800 GSM will have a guillotining rate of 75 cents per lift of 500 sheets. For stock weights between 80 GSM and 250 GSM, the cost of a lift is multiplied by the factor below the weight, 75 cents by 2, which is $1.50 per lift for 250 sheets. For stock weights between 250 GSM and 350 GSM, the guillotining rate will be 75 cents by 2.5, which is $2.25 per lift for 100 sheets. And above the third weight, 350 GSM, the cost of a lift is multiplied by the factor below the weight, 75 cents by 3, which is $3 per lift for 100 sheets. Next, you can enter the guillotining setup time and the time for each lift. And under these times you can enter the minimum guillotining charge for a guillotining job. You can also choose whether or not to include the cost of guillotining overs in a job by selecting the Include Overs in Guillotining Calculations, and this default can be changed within a quote or job. The ink section is where you set the default costs for ink mixing and ink wash-ups. First, enter the cost of mixing the ink mix colour and the time it takes to mix a colour, the ink mix time. And you click on Choose Mixing for Spot Colours checkbox to make the drop-down menu visible in a quote or job on the printing tab, and the choose wash-ups for spot colours checkbox to make the wash-up drop-down menu visible in a quote or job. And if it's selected, the ink mixing drop-down menu and the wash-ups drop-down menu will appear in a job or quote. So the ink mixing and the ink wash-ups are selected and the drop-down menus are available. Here you can turn them off or turn them on, and you can do the same for the wash-ups.